Welcome back to the show. Are you someone who loves your furry friends? Well, it's really important that you help them have the best life possible, and Super Simple Dog Training does just that. And I've got Luke and Charlie joining me in the studio. Good morning.
Hey guys, how are you?
I'm wonderful. There's nothing better than some puppy love to start your day off. So having Charlie here, giving everyone just that little bit of comfort that dogs always bring really helps first thing.
It's a wonderful thing. It's a great part of what I do for a living, and I'd love to tell you guys more today about, not only my background, but also what makes us a little different when it comes to dog training, behavior modification, things like that, it's an unregulated industry, so there's, folks on both sides of the spectrum. We like to tell folks that we're kind of in the middle. We teach a lot of stuff that is based on how children learn, and so a couple of the tidbits that I'd like to give you guys some information on today that can change your life with some really simple things that, man, we don't know what we don't know. And when you have an expert that can come in and show you some very scientific tidbits, it can change your whole perspective on things.
Well, and especially because dogs are all so different. Certain dog breeds have certain traits that are steadfast. Like, I have a Great Pyrenees. She barks if there's a slight breeze that rolls through from the ceiling fan, and that's her job, and I understand that. And I was reading on your website, you said when you get a dog, you have to give them a job or they create their own, and whether it's destroying your shoes or your couch, they've given themselves that job.
That's right. They are very, just curious creatures. They've got a lot of drive and energy, and that's one of the things that I teach people. It's very fun, especially because it's very logical for a lot of the parents that I work with. Dogs actually have a very similar mental capacity at an adult age that is similar to a 3 to 5 year old human child. So a lot of the techniques that we use for teaching human children apply directly to dogs, and it's almost the same as well when it comes to schoolwork and kids that are, the child finishes the assignment early, now they're cutting up in class and making jokes and causing trouble. The answer is not more discipline and stricter things. The answer is, this kid is too smart. They finished the assignment early. Let's give them more difficult classes, sports, music, student council, all that kind of stuff. That's what we do for dogs. It's a very simple thing that will actually be a time plus within your day, where if you give them a job in this really simple set of tools that we show you guys in our private training sessions, it can change your life because they have an outlet for this naturally curious canid behavior.
Which I think is so important that people acknowledge this as they're bringing a dog into their life, because we are in such a high activity community. We stay quite busy, but then people work a lot. And so if you're going to bring a dog into your home and you're working a ton, it's really important that you have that kind of work-life dog balance.
Well, like you said, Maddie, it's all about awareness. And as humans, we're in our own heads, and oftentimes we don't know what we don't know, as far as this idea that we're doing our best with kids and work and getting the pets what they need. And sometimes a short walk a couple times a day is not enough. We are doing our best. I get that. The fun part about what I teach is that through a series of set it and forget it, from back in the day, those who watch the infomercials of, if I can put a little bit of food in a series of puzzle toys, that can be a thing where we say, I'm busy, you need stimulation. I'm going to pour the food in, put the top on, set it and forget it. It's very similar to giving a child an iPad on a long car ride. Hey, engage yourself, burn energy, have a little bit of self-fulfilling challenges. Having a challenge that we overcome releases a lot of serotonin and dopamine within our systems. So that challenge and overcoming of the challenge can also be very satisfying within this idea that when they are working on this set it and forget it food puzzle toy, they're burning energy. As they burn energy solving problems, they fill their belly. And then what's next after that? It's always nap time. So that's a little up and down cycle, as we call it, where if we can do a little bit of exercise, food dispensing puzzle toy, it becomes 2 to 4 hour nap time shortly after. And that's just a benefit for everybody because we can do what we need to do and the dog has their needs met while also being happy and stimulated.
Which I think is so great. She is so calm.
Well, this is my little Buddha, yes.
And she's just so docile and happy to be here. She was so excited when she walked in. She was so well at greeting everyone, putting a smile on everyone's face, and then now she's just calm as could be.
Well, it's something that we kind of talked about as we were coming in. This is actually one of the benefits that you can get, not only when you have a mixed breed, but rescues fit into this general category of dogs that have less intensity around the various breed mixes that they have. I grew up with specially trained hunting dogs and things of that nature. And I found that actually for a normal life where we're not doing these things competitively, the rescue mixes tend to be not only healthier, easier to train in a lot of respects because they're not as intense, and just this idea that when you mix the genes, they become relatively docile. And it's a pretty cool thing where, you know, it's not a natural thing for a lot of dogs, but when you mix the genes, they tend to find the middle a lot easier. It's kind of curious.
You know, I have a Chihuahua Jack Russell at home, and he's only 18 months old, and he is absolutely insane, like a wild child. But I give him puzzle feeders when I leave the house.
Wonderful.
So that way my cabinets aren't destroyed.
Well, and Jack Russells are so fascinating, and it just goes into this. We could go into the various breeds as we've talked about, but man, if we look at what they do, that's a big part of what I teach within my dog training is let's really not start with trying to fix the solution, fix the problem.
Right.
Let's look a couple steps back onto what are they as far as a canid? What are their natural instincts? They're all derived from wolves, etc., as well as what their breed is, right? These terriers and the Pyrenees and the hunting dogs have very different sets of behaviors that are pre-programmed into them.
Yes.
If we can look back at what they're bred for and understand the use cases that they were bred for many hundreds of generations to do, that's going to help us get at some of those underlying causes therapeutically as far as giving them an outlet for those natural behaviors.
Yes.
If we understand those background things, then in the moment, not only can we do some of the puzzle toys that we talked about within creating that up and down cycle of exercise, food dispensing, toy, nap time, but we can also cater those things directly to breed-specific outlets that will not only be a more positive outlet because it's more natural for them, but much easier to train as far as different techniques. There's something called barn hunt, if you've ever heard of this within terriers and Jack Russells, where literally they hide a varmint in a cage, and it's a test to see which critter hunting dog can find them the fastest. So that's also part of understanding the breed and the background to where it's a really positive outlet. Both of the needs are met at the same time, right?
Yes.
You're having a bonding experience. The dog has its needs met, so they're not tearing everything up. And it just balances stuff for everybody. Just like we talk about with, you know, if we want to balance our human mind, it's all about physical exercise, being out in nature, healthy diet, healthy mental habits. And we apply a lot of those things in dog training. And it's one of my favorite things that I share at the end of sessions where the moms will often tell me, man, that was really fun. Enjoyed the teaching. We'll see you next week. And by the way, did you know that a lot of the things that you teach for dogs apply directly to my kiddos and how I teach them? And I say, yes, of course, because a lot of the methods, of course, come from that. And it's a very similar habituation, learning mindset where we create good habits that inherently displace the unwanted ones. So.
Now, as someone who's spent a lot of time training dogs, when someone gets a rescue dog, do you think it's important that they do a DNA test to understand what breeds are actually in that dog? Because most of the time when you get a rescue dog, it's a guess.
Sure. You know, I can definitely see that, especially within young puppies. If you're not sure about your lifestyle and your living situation to where the size and the breed could be an issue, I would definitely recommend it there. I will tell you, with a little bit of grain of salt, that I have had some clients that worked for some of those companies, and they said they're, you know, not quite as accurate as we would all hope. So I would say definitely fun, but take it with a grain of salt. I can tell you that one of my clients was just beside themselves and needed to know what Charlie's DNA was. They did some research. They actually sent off the DNA request without a picture. So you might do some of those things where you research a bit, pay a little more is probably going to get you some more accurate results. And also, if you don't send in the picture, they kind of have a harder time guessing, hey, if it's a picture, that's pretty easy to do a couple clicks. Whereas they sent hers away totally blind and it came back half Labrador, half Australian cattle dog. So interesting mix, makes total sense because she likes to herd and she's obviously got the lab coat. But yeah, in the near term, that would be my recommendation is if it's a puppy and you're really curious about how it's going to fit into your lifestyle and how big it's going to be, definitely do the DNA test. But beyond that, it's really more of a entertainment thing, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think so too, but I think that maybe it is good if you're, like you said, getting a puppy now. If people are interested in working with you and having you help their dog become the sweet little angel Buddha baby that's here on the ground with us, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Sure. You can always reach me directly through my website. There's, of course, cell number and an informational if you would like to fill out a couple questions to start the process a little ahead of schedule as far as information that you give us. That's going to be a really fun way to start the engagement process as far as just having an initial conversation. Whatever way makes sense as far as getting in touch with each other. But really, I always start with a 15-minute phone consultation because sometimes people are just having an issue where they're snagged, and if I can give someone a bit of information over the phone that solves their problems and they don't need a session, hey, great, totally fine with me because they're going to tell all their friends and all that. But really what it comes down to is a 15-minute phone consultation where I'm going to listen to all the things that are going on, age, breed, background, what are the needs, what's your lifestyle, and then from that I can give you in the near term some quick answers on how to keep it from getting worse. And if it makes sense, and if you like the vibe that I'm giving you within some corny jokes and some sarcasm that blends well with some very direct science that applies to human children, and that is something where we're going to talk, and if you like some of the things that I'm teaching as far as this is what you're likely going through, does that make sense? Okay, great. Here's the steps that we would move forward as far as the nature and the nurture. We always work on the therapeutic underlying causes as well as the in the moment, how to not do the not so helpful behavior, but it all starts with a phone chat, so feel free to reach out via my website or hit me up directly on the cell, and of course we have the socials on Facebook and Instagram.
Luke, thank you so much for coming in, giving us just this whirlwind of information for people to be able to embrace at home, because there's some great advice in there, but then also thank you for helping people really find their true soulmates within a dog, because I feel like once you make that connection, like you said with the dog, there's no better love in this world.
It's a truly wonderful thing. We so much appreciate the opportunity to come and chat and share some of our love information with you guys. So thanks, Maddie. Thanks everybody for watching.
Make sure that you check out Super Simple Dog Training. That way, if you have any of those behavioral issues at home, you can get your dog straightened and squared away to become your absolute best friend. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned.